Hello and welcome to Fire in the Belly. Today we have myself, Mighty Pete Launton, and we're joined here with Christine Mcgonagle. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Pete.
Thanks very much for coming on. So, Christine, do you want to quickly tell us who you are and what do you do?
Okay, as you said, I'm Christine Mcgonagle, also known as the Irish Menopausal Mammy. I support menopausal ladies with a support page on Facebook, and we're gradually getting all over social media as well. I'm also a menopause mentor and trainer. Other things I do is I'm a cognitive behavioural therapist and soon to be author as well. I'm writing a book associated with Donna Kennedy. Are you part of that book as well, I believe, Pete?
I might be.
You're not going to give too much away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and and associated with Pat Slattery as well. So that's quite a big thing for me, and it's one of those bucket lists. There's a lot of boxes getting ticked this last while. So yeah, I'm an entrepreneur as well, and I'm also going to be starting my own YouTube channel and podcast as well.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, I'm very busy.
I love it. So tell me this, what does Fire in the Belly mean to you?
Fire in the belly. That's when, to me, it's my passion, my determination, my goals, and it's what drives me forward. You know, there's always something driving me forward. Some days you forget, but then you don't belong getting a wee kick. It's just wee keyword will come along, and away you go again.
Yeah, that's cool. So take us right back. Where are you from originally, and talk to us about where you're from and your family and your upbringing.
Okay, well, I'm from Buncrana. My parents were both from St. Joseph Park in Buncrana, and we lived in the Red Row. I was reared there on the Cockhill Road, where I spent my days up and down there on a bike with the dog along the main road. I'm an only child.
What was the dog called?
Blackie.
Blackie, very good.
Blackie, yeah. So yeah, I had some good days in the Red Road. We'd very, very good neighbours, especially one old guy, Millis Doherty. I remember him fondly. Millis had his own things in life to deal with, and he was always out giving out to me and shouting about, yeah, you're going to get killed in that road, cut it. But heart of gold. He only died there recently. I thought he died years ago, because if I had known that, I would have been away to see him. An absolute gentleman.
Well, so you were always out and about, were you, as a child?
I was a bit of a tomboy, all right. We had Swan Park right across from us, so that was my playground. Myself and a few other young ones. Yeah, I remember going into the back of Millis's yard, and we cut down some rods. We tried to bend up nails, and everything was pulled together with string, and we'd go down and try to fish down at the down in Swan Park. And many a day fell in beside the salmon, never mind catch anything. The only thing we caught was cold. But we had good crack. There. So yeah, and then even being an only child, though, I went to work when I was 13. My first job was washing dishes in Dorian's restaurant, and I gradually moved up to serving tables. I loved it in there. Loved the food as well. It was a treat because you got your food free. I loved it. The Dorians were very good now to work for, but my main manager was Patrick Deary. Lovely man, and everybody loved him. From being so young and being, starting off your work in life can be quite daunting, but it wasn't in there. I loved it now. It was a lovely place to work in.
What made it stand out?
I don't know, I think it was more so that there was no roaring and shouting. Everybody that was there knew exactly what they were doing. Like Patrick was very, very professional at his job, treated everybody the same. And if you weren't doing something right, he spoke to you, sat down and spoke to you. No roaring and shouting, you know, it was. And for a young, I was still childlike, for a young one, it was, you know, as I say, it can be daunting, but I suppose my way of looking at it was, well, we were getting £50 a week. And that was a lot of money back then, you know, and at 13 years of age. So I wanted to keep my job. And even though I was an only child, I was spoiled, but only spoiled to a certain extent. You know, so that money was everything to me. That it gave me that wee bit of freedom, and then I felt older because I was out working all those hours. You know, you know, we definitely earned our £50. It was a very busy, popular place.
So we're coming
right
back to a couple of pounds an hour type thing, was it? Sorry, saying that was
what was that?
Sorry, that was coming down to maybe a couple of pounds per hour. Was it £2 or £3 per hour?
Maybe less. But even so, that didn't bother me. I was happy out, you know. We did get tips as well. The fact was, for me at that particular time was, even though it was what it was still an achievement for me, because that was back in the day, and I know there's still a lot of it now, even now, was you're in the know. You either had a brother or a sister who was there before you and they got you in. So if you needed staff, it wasn't a thing that was put in the paper. Do you know anybody? Right, get them in, you know. Whereas I'd nobody up and above me to speak for me, or like I got the opportunity, took it, and earned my keep and earned my reason to stay. You know, they kept me. You know, so yeah, so I loved it. You know, and I was proud to be there.
So tell me this, is maybe, I don't know, a 7-year-old, what would we have seen in a 7-year-old Christine?
Can you repeat that?
So what would you have seen in like a 7-year-old Christine, say?
7-year-old Christine. When I was 7, hadn't a care in the world. Hadn't a clue. My mother's father always lived with us. So I was spoiled rotten. The fire was on in the morning before I got up, and my uniform was over the back of the fire guard, been heating for me. So yeah, he was still living in those days. So 7-year-old, hadn't a care, and looking to wash all those dishes. No, she would have thought I was off my head. Off my head. She would have been away running, hiding behind a door, or looking to go play with a mouse or something. I had a pet mouse when I was around the 7-year-old mark.
Oh wow. What was it called?
I can't remember. It didn't last too long.
I was going to say, it mustn't have been around the same time as Blackie. I would have thought that.
No. Well, we were in England for a while before that. So Blackie only surfaced when we came back to Ireland. Mum and Dad they'd bought a house very shortly after got married, and rented it out, and then we had that to come back to in Mcgonagle. But going back to the mouse, it was in a very, very fancy cage. It was 2 round circles with a tunnel in between. So if you wanted to clean this one, you could close off this one. But myself and my father were very brave. He used to let the mouse run up his shirt here, up here, and it would sit up in here, and it would go around his back and down. And I thought this was great crack. Great crack. My mother, she would be behind the door and her squealing thing away. But yeah, we took it out, and we would let it run up and down the hallway. So we're just outside the utility room door, and I went to grab it one day, and instead of coming at it from behind, I came at it and it gave me a nip, just a quick nip, and just the reaction, I slammed the hand down the gap's throat. That was the end of the wee mouse.
Oh, plus. Go there's 10 years
I just told you that.
Oh dear, I love it. Yeah. Well, it's amazing the things that you remember going back.
I know. Jeez. Oh.
So how was school for you at that sort of younger age?
School, I went to school in England and here. school was kind of very authoritized in England. It was like everything else in England. You know, I remember being in lovely homes with gardens or a yard or something, but you would never dare to go out into them. You weren't allowed to stay unsupervised. You know, the last place we lived in England was New Bradwell in Bletchley and Milton Keynes. And with your patio doors of your kitchen went out onto an open green. Everybody's patio doors went out. And I remember that there used to be, whatever parent was out, and then if there was a parent out because their child was out first, you were allowed out to play on the green because somebody was there keeping an eye on you. It wasn't, you know, when we come back here, I was just turning 9, and like I was walking from the Red Row up to Slavery, up at St. Joseph's Park. I was walking around Swan Park. I would be away around Father Higgerty's Rock. I was anywhere and everywhere, me and the dog, and the freedom I had as a child, there was no comparison. You know, the whole of Uncrana was your backyard. You know, it was crazy. It took a while to settle into that because my parents would have been that wee bit overprotective because I was the only child and because it was what they were used to. But yeah, there was nothing. We used to come back for 6 weeks every summer anyway. And we stayed in Slavery with Granny and Granda and the Mcgonagle. And yeah, I loved it. Loved getting to the hill, would you believe? Loved the smell of the turf. I loved sitting on top of the turf, on top of the tractor or the lorry or whatever we were dragging it out with. Loved it. Wouldn't do it now.
No, that's it. Jeez, the HSE would be down on you. You know. Just out of interest, what was your earliest memory then?
What was my what?
Your earliest memory?
Earliest memory. I don't know, is it because I have photographs of it, but I do remember a go-kart that I got. As I said, I was a tomboy. And even though my mother had a lovely little dress and all on me, I was on the go-kart flat out with this go-kart. And I would have been about maybe 3, 4. And then I've no recognition of anything after that until I actually had a fall from a climbing frame. And I just remember the white room and the doctors, and that put the fear of God in me of doctors and white, you know, any kind of medical kind of system, dentist, anything, for years after that. You know, so, because I think my recovery was at least 3 months at that time. I remember going back to school and then the bus having to take me home again.
Wow.
Because I couldn't make it as far as the school. I still wasn't well enough to go back. I had to be taught to walk, talk, everything, whatever injury I had at that time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What age was that then?
I remember that. I remember a little, you know, like a little summer pinafore that we used to have, a blue and white check. And I remember the bus man taking me out of the back of the bus and me covered in grass, because he'd tried to put grass on me because I'd been sick over the top of myself in the bus. God love him. I remember his face. He was mortified and he didn't want to touch me. His stomach was turning at the same time. It's just, but he's still trying to do his best by me, you know. So yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what age were you then? Do you know?
I don't know. I must have been about 5 or 6. 5 or 6. I remember my father was working in the tunnels in England at the time, because he couldn't be got hold of at the time. I remember that night when I took ill, there was a woman, the neighbour had come in from next door, and I remember eating a banana and violently vomiting and then collapsing. And just ambulance, blue lights, just blue lights. That's all I remember. And then the white room.
God, isn't it amazing the things you remember?
Yeah, definitely.
So you had to stay in hospital then for a while, did you?
I think I was in hospital for a right while because I was in an isolated room, and the only people who were allowed in, I remember coming in to see me were my parents. You know, I do remember the isolated room because of the perspex, I don't know, was it perspex windows or just the ordinary glass windows? But I remember that because there was a wee lad in the room next to me. They came and went from the room next to me, and I stayed where I was. I was in the bed constantly. I don't remember being out of the bed. You know, and all over the head of me being on a climbing frame, and a young lad had been up above me and had broken his arm, lost his grip, and he came down, brought me with him down onto the concrete.
There you go. There you go.
So,
Just goes to show how dangerous climbing frames can be.
well, that's it. But sure, it can happen climbing on anything. You
Yeah,
know?
absolutely.
I think it was more the surface that I hit, and then, but like that, I got up, I cried, and I got up and went home. It was later on that night that I took that, you know.
Well, tell us what did your parents do? What did your folks do?
My mother was a machinist. That's right. I remember the big factory she used to be at. I used to go into work with her on a Saturday. Can't remember the name of the place, but it was a big brown glass place. She was a machinist, and my father was always into either the tunnels or mechanicking and, you know, things like that. Very much a hands-on man. His nickname was Vice Grips. He had two big hands in him like shovels. And they called he did a bit of work before, and he put on the nuts on the wheels of a lorry, and they had to get the, you know, the electric thing to take it off. They couldn't get it off, so, and he put it on by hand. Very, very, very strong man. You know, he was my hero.
Wow. And when you say tunnels, what in tunnels?
Involved in the tunnels in the UK, all over the UK. Yeah, him and his brothers and my mother's brothers as well. The Craigs, yeah, they all were tunnelers, and even his brother Owen now would have still been up until not that long ago. Would have been, he's great with the hands, like, you know, engineering and technical like that. And the uncle's daughter, she's in Australia now. She's working in the mines, and she's going on the same route, you know.
Oh,
it's like a wee grease monkey when she rings home.
That's great. So it's just obviously runs in the family, or runs in the
In the blood. Bit of
the
tomboy about a few of us now.
But tell me there, I mean, it was interesting. You talked about your dad being your hero. Tell us about that.
Well, as I said, it was a tomboy, and my father had always some kind of project or something on the go. We used to, where we lived in the Red Road, there used to be sheds up the back. We had our own wee shed, but my grandfather used it for mending fishing nets. My grandfather Craig was a fisherman from Inch, and he was married to Margaret Brown from Derry, and we would have connections there to Dana. But that side of the house, so Grandad had that, and that's where the dog sat with him during the day when I was at school. But up the other side then, neighbours' sheds, they allowed my father to park a car on there, so he could be stripping an engine, or he could be rebuilding a car completely. And yeah, I would be up footering with him, you know. That would be, if he was under the car, I would be under the car, you know, or he'd be telling me to pass him this wrench, that wrench, and non-wrench, and whatever. You know, I'd loved being around him, and if he was going anywhere, I was in the car with him. If he was going away in a digger, I was away with him, you know. And yeah, there was one evening, yeah, I was mad to get going with him. Like he worked in numerous places. One of the crowd he worked for was Patton's, and he had their crane home, and it was, I'll never forget it, the local sergeant came to the door looking for him and asked him, would he go to the local pier? There was a car in the pier. So at that, that was a trip I wasn't allowed to go on. And then my mother got nosy, and she took us down a run, and I got over as far as him. But then, you know, I was told, the guards told him I'd have to go back because they're ready. The divers were there and they were ready to lift the car. I went back, but sure, I still saw everything that was going on, you know. There was actually a body in the car at the time, unfortunately, and yeah, no, it's a sad occasion now. Yeah, but that was years ago. You know, so any opportunity I got, like I was, oh, well, there's a few, no, I better not say nothing because the guards stand at the door, but I was, put it like I said, no problem passing my test when I turned 17. I've been driving a while before that.
It was a formality, that was about it.
Yeah, well, it wasn't. I wouldn't even mind. It wasn't even cars. It would have been putting away there, lorries or, you know, whatnot. And You know, like when I went back to London for a small time myself, and the first thing I did was got my license on the U line on the buses, and I was only 18. You know, I thought I need a job. Oh, I'll go and do that. So yeah, I went out and did my test and passed it straight away.
Right.
You know, driving and things like that, it just wouldn't take a shake out of me.
So there's not many women moved over to London and getting their bus license. I would say that's a fairly unique thing to do.
Yeah, well, I didn't use it too often because the job didn't last too long, to be honest, because I was over and back home all the time, but more often than not. You know, I didn't do too long. I did about a year and a half in London, which was long enough, because I still had a child back home here. Myself and my mother just were never big buddies, and I just found it impossible to. I just didn't want to be at home. So I got the opportunity, and I went to London, and at one stage, I think my father was for coming over as well. He had an opportunity to come over to work, so I was just had myself sorted out. Had a job I had been doing on a part-time basis at night, at the weekend. Position came up full-time during the weekdays, and it also came with an apartment up separate to the bar, but it was above the bar. And I took it, jumped at it. And so a friend of mine had borrowed me his van that day, and every penny I'd gone out and bought anything and everything that I needed to get out my kitchen, the bed and everything, to get me going. And because I was always in shared accommodation. And the next thing then was to go back, and I had got my daughter into a creche. And that was my next step, was to go back to Ireland and take her over. But that night, a local Buncrana fellow was in the bar. It was a quiet bar, at that time of the evening. And we were talking about, God rest him, Eddie Fordon, Sinn Féin councillor who had been murdered in Buncrana. And we were just standing in deep, disbelief, because we were just listening to what we'd heard. There wasn't the mobile phones then that there is now, and, the social media. So we were trying to piece it together and trying to figure out who or how or why anybody would come into our town, and especially Eddie Fulton, who did so much to help everybody. Why they would want to hurt him, we couldn't understand that. And just as that, my father's brother and the wife and the two kids came into the bar, and the uncle wouldn't have been a drinker. The wife never went outside the door. And I thought, geez, they're on to see me. This is great. I was all shocked for myself. And then the next thing, we're chatting at the bar, and the next thing, I went up to take out glasses out of the glass washer, and the manager had come round. I noticed him coming round in the corner of the bar. The bar was in three, it was an L shape, and noticed him round about, and a bit of whispering going on, but I passed no remarks. I'd introduced him to my uncle and family, and they were all yapping away and such. And then of course, I was standing with the glasses and said to my uncle, is there any word from home? And he just looked at me and he says, yeah, there is. And just that manager just reached him out of my hand and turned around, left him sitting on the counter, and just handed me a glass and told me, get out of the bar. Get out of the bar. He says, what's going on? And my uncle says to me, your father's had an accident. So I left the bar. I went out through the top part. And there was a wee game of cards going on in there. So we all moved up there, and that's when I was told that my father went to work that day and was working in Letterkenny, and he'd had an accident, and they knew no more than what I knew. And I said, right, sure, I'll just ring the hospital. Was he in hospital? Yeah, I'll just ring the hospital. So it took a while to get through, because you were put through different departments. And then the phone went through to a nurse answering saying ICU. So I thought, right, okay. I said, I'm inquiring about my father. She asked me quite a few questions. She repeated everything I said, and I could hear my mother in the background saying, yeah, that's her, that's Christine, that's Christine. And I said, sure, I can hear my mother in the background. And she says, right, okay. She says, if you want to see your father alive, you just get the next flight home. And that was that.
What age were you?
19. Oh, it's tough now.
Hmm.
And then the uncle then was trying to get it out of me what was said or whatever, even though the two legs had left me at that stage. I was on the floor. But yeah, I just went home with them and we flew out the next day. And when we were at the airport, we were flying into Belfast. And just before we left the airport, we had found out that my father had been flown to Beaumont in Dublin. So we were going to change our flights, but we were told no, just go home because they're going to need time to settle my father and see what could happen, you know. So we just headed for Buncran. And that was that. So at that stage, my parents had moved house and I went home to a completely strange house that wasn't home. It was never was home, never would be. I hated the place. It was horrible. And yeah, and that was the 4th of June that he had the accident. He had the accident on Letterkenny Main Street outside Mcgonagle's bar. And yeah, it was just, well, he was lucky. I suppose we got to spend time with him. If he had been anywhere else, we got to spend time with him because they were able to, I do believe that a doctor and a nurse were nearby, and when like a trench had caved in on top of him, so when they got him out, there was a nurse and a doctor there who resuscitated, and that left it that he could be put on life support, and they flew him the next day to Dublin, and the decision, after a second opinion, the decision was made on the 15th of June to switch the machine off. So.
Tough times.
Yep, it was, because as I say, I come home to a strange house. It wasn't home. My mother was an alcoholic, so I was very, very much on my own. My mother's family were there, and my father's family were there. But even so, there was quite a few things that had to be done during the wake. You know, personal. You know, my father had a post-mortem, and this sticks in my mind. And at one stage, he needed to be attended to during the wake, so we had to close the doors, and whereas the rest of the family were telling us that, you know, you get the undertaker and whatever, and I says, no, I look after him. And with the support of my uncle Owen, we closed the door and we went in and cleaned him up. So it mightn't seem like much, but I was grateful for that. So that's where another stage in my life started. So
You're saying you had a child at that point as well?
Yeah, I did. My only daughter. Yeah. My father went to the town one day for a lawnmower and came back with a buggy. He adored her. As I said, I was an only child. And yeah, he would have done anything for her. Yeah. So My kids have lost out a lot growing up because he wasn't here.
Mm.
Oh,
So
Jesus, you turned me into
so we trip down memory lane. So what
yeah.
age were you when you had your daughter?
I was pregnant at 16 and I just turned 17 when I had her, so I was still a child myself.
Mm.
Yeah.
So fair play. I mean, you obviously had that, and then you were off to London then at 18, and you were.
If I could have not, London was an escape route for me. I didn't want to go and leave my child, but I just found it impossible to live where I was. I just found myself in an impossible situation, and that was my way out at that time. I had an eating disorder as well at the same time. I was bulimic. And then eventually that was something that I dealt with myself. So your stresses can affect you in a lot of ways, a hell of a lot of ways. Then when I come back, as I say, when I come back from London, I have no idea what happened. That van load of stuff, I never looked about it, or it was neither here nor there to me. And I said that I wouldn't go back to London because I don't know, I just maybe felt that I was obliged to stay and look after my mother, and that just at that stage then she had nobody to hide her drinking from, so it was a free for all. And immediately after my father's burial, I would sit and drink with her. So it was a case of, you can't open your mouth to me, sure, you're sitting with a drink in your hand. And that went on for a couple of weeks until I woke up one morning and my head was banging, and I thought, oh Jesus, I can't do this. And that was the end of it. So I tried to get back on track, and but I couldn't, living in a house where that was going on. I'm gonna have a visitor here. So I moved out numerous times, even though I was worried about my mother because of the drinking she was doing. Because I could see everything that was going on in the house when I was there. But the reason I moved out as many times as I did, it wasn't because me and her couldn't get on as such. It was the fact of, sitting drinking late at night, and she was a smoker, so was I. She was a smoker, but she'd fall asleep with a cigarette in her hand, and my daughter's bedroom was upstairs. And there was no hope in hell me getting her out of that place went up. So away I went. And it was hard, it was difficult, really difficult, because I was on my own with that child. I had no support at all, none, so that's the way it was.
Do you always remember your mother drinking, or did it come about?
She doesn't drink anymore, but some would say she's fine, there's nothing wrong with her. Some would say she's a recovering alcoholic, but it wasn't until recently that I found out that she's actually a dry alcoholic. It's called dry alcoholic because she never admitted that she ever had a problem. She never admitted to being an alcoholic. It's never been discussed. It's never been spoken about. It's a chip that I've carried on my shoulder for years. Anytime I tried to speak to her, it was all the youth involved or whatever. It was never a case of, yeah, maybe I do, maybe I don't. It was all, no, she didn't want to know. She just didn't want to know. And then if any of her drinking buddies or anything like that, it was you then as well turn around and tell you, leave your mommy alone. She's all right. She needs a wee drink. She's distressed. Your father died. For fuck's sake, he died 5 years ago. And it even went on longer than that. But anyway, because she did stop drinking one time, and it was in 1999 she stopped drinking. because I remember she bought a car because my father was killed in a work accident. She came into a lot of money, and yeah, she did move house. She did buy another house, but sure, but she sold the other house before she drank it. She drank a lot,
Mm.
you know.
Talk to us a bit about
So
the.
she did go back on the drink after she was off the drink for a year or two, and she took an iffy tummy, and somebody told her to try a brandy import, and sure, that was it. That one drink that she took, that was the end of it. She was back in the vodka again, you know. But no, it ended up that I had to lift her off the street in Buncrana. I had people, good friends, who would give me a ring from time to time and just to say to me, she doesn't look well, you know. She just doesn't look well. And it came a time then that there was one evening I got the phone call and I found her in a bar in Buncrana, and she was just slumped in a corner. She wasn't able to even lift the drink in front of her. And it wasn't even an alcoholic beverage that she had at the time. It was a soda water because she was so ill. And I found her. I went in, looked at her. Didn't say anything. There was other people there. Her buddies were there, and I don't know what, they were playing darts or something. And one of them started to get quite abusive to me because I went to move the table back to be able to get into her. She was that small and petite. I was going to lift her and just carry her out. And I came up against it with that particular person, and there was other people there who had nothing to do with them, nothing to do with me. And the bar staff came out and assisted me in every which way they could and told the other people, that woman's not well, her daughter's here to look after her, get, you know. And they helped me carry her out and wished me well. I took her home and got her to the doctor, got her on detox. She wasn't coherent for days, just sitting with a bucket on my sofa, and took her to Whitehall's. They couldn't accept her because she couldn't tell them her name. She was that far through, she was that ill. And I took her to Letterkenny Hospital, and we were made sit to all hours of the night. And she wasn't seen to. And then when we were seen to, then it was a case of a 10-minute job, and we were told to come back for 9 o'clock in the morning, which we did. And when I came back in at 9 o'clock in the morning, I basically told the hospital, I'm not leaving here with her. I'm not taking her home. Here you go. You know, and I didn't mean that in a horrible way, but that she wasn't well. And they just weren't accepting it, that it was what it was. And she was kept in, and she came round once she got fluids into her with a drip. She came round, and then of course then when she realised where she was, and then whenever she started, you know, she saw me talking to anybody, she got very abusive, you know, and defensive towards me. And then she just started to go downhill. And she had cirrhosis of the liver. And I was there. I was actually doing a course in Limavady at that time, even though I had a young family. I was married with a young family at the time. And I just stopped the course and I stayed with her. And like that, the same as what I did with my father, the nurses left a trolley in with my mother, was put into a private ward on her own. And the trolley was left in with me, and she had to be, she wasn't able to go to the toilet herself. So she had to be cared for in that way. And so I did all the washing and cleaning of her. So the nurses didn't need to bother or whatever. And then I got to the stage then that I asked the doctor straight up, you know, is she going to make it? Is there a possibility that she wasn't going to make it? And they couldn't answer me. They just, we've no family here. My mother's family is all away. And it got to the stage that the doctor just looked me straight in the face and wouldn't answer me. I says, I'll take that as a yes. And I went out and I rang my mother's family. And they didn't say, I was off cigarettes at the time. I remember it, I walked out the back door, and there was a smoking room out the back in Letterkenny, the old casualty. And there was a man just lighting up a cigarette, and just as he lit it, I walked past and just swiped it out of his mouth. And the tears blinded me, and nearly this here, because it was just after ringing my mother's family. I rang. They're spread all over the UK, so I rang two, because I'd only so much change. You were using the coin box, and I says, "Can you tell the rest?" I says, "My mother's not good. If you want to see her, you should come home." And I don't think they didn't believe me. I don't think. And then the next day she deteriorated again. And I know one of them had rang over to the reception, because the nurse was there. She says to me, and I said, "Just tell her, you know." And she says, "Yes, she's not good." And then it got to the stage. Then the next day I rang over again. I said, "This is the last time I'm ringing." I said, "If she dies, I'm not ringing you back. Sort yourselves." And that was it. And within a space of 12 hours, they all started to arrive. And yeah, all her family were there around her. And how? None of them, even to this day, and even myself, understand how the hell that woman came out of it. But she did. She did. So. And then she got out, and she wasn't ill enough to be in hospital, but she wasn't well enough to be home. And she was taken for respite care into the nursing unit in Mcgonagle. And her sister stayed, and her husband as well, who was very supportive of her, stayed with my mother and took her out then for the new year. And yeah, at that stage then, my mother accused me of stealing everything from her, and I just walked away. Had to walk away. Couldn't do it. After all, I don't want thanked for what I did. She was my mother, But yeah, accused me of taking everything. But there you go. I just handed them all the receipts of everything that had been switched back on again in the house, and I had receipts for everything. I knew what I was going to be up against. I had receipts for everything. So and they couldn't, everything was through at them. I says, "Here, that's for that, that's for that, that's for that. There you go." And I'm more or less, well, I did tell them, "Shove it up your arse." And out the door I went. And, it's just, like myself and my mother never had a great relationship, but, it's just, it's sore on me, and I've always kept my distance from her, whereas now I don't let that happen. I do what I want when I want with my children and my grandchildren, and if she's there, she's there. It's fine. I've grown and grown within myself to realise that it's her problem, not mine. It's definitely not mine. I've done with that, And if she can't stand the person that I am, well, that's her problem, not mine. To the outside world, she seems like a lovely woman, and she is. She is. But it never happened for us. Simple as that.
Was there always drink involved?
No, because I've spoken to my mother's family about this, and they said my mother was never a drinker. In her earlier years, she was never. I don't think my mother took a drink until she was in her late 20s. So, and from what I saw her, from what I could make of her, she'd be a lightweight with drink. It didn't take much. So she would get into a state very quickly. I remember being at family occasions, whatever, and hearing the Chinese whispers of other people, not realizing that I was in ears reach, or I was listening. That, do you see the state of, naming her and whatever? But yeah, it's a bloody horrible addiction, horrible, and it takes a lot out of a family, and it has its severe consequences, So I guess that's why I've always continued to move on the way I have, and never looked for or find it very hard to accept any support from anybody. You know.
Have you any idea or understanding why your mother was took to the drink?
No. I don't know. Was it possibly just social drinking? You know, my father wasn't a big drinker. You know, when every Saturday night the two of them used to head to the Atlantic Bar in Mcgonagle, the time JP had it, and we Sean McHugh. That was their socialising. You know, was going up there on a Saturday night, and my father drank a pint of Smothers. That was his pint. That was his drink. And there was very rare nights when he would come into the house and I could turn around and look at him and say, "You had a drink." He never changed, you see. Never changed. He was as calm and as sociable without one as he was with one. You know.
Is he a big man?
Big tall man, yeah. Yeah. He wasn't a big heavy set man now, but he was a big tall man, yeah. Yeah. Strong. Big gentle giant, a gentleman. You know.
You mentioned there bulimia.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a wee bit more about that?
I think it was after I had my first child that this strange body, you know, the changes in my body, and just my surroundings and everything had changed. And I just turned 17. I was still a child. There was so much going on at the time, long before that, when my father found out I was pregnant, the disappointment in his face, you know, was sore on me than any slap or nasty words he could have given me, you know. So I was still carrying that, even though, you know, he was as good to me, and you know, whereas my mother, on the other hand, then she drew on that, and any chance she got a dig in at me about, you know, letting my father down, letting them down, you know. So there was a lot of that going on after I had my daughter, and then, you know, basically trying to move on from that. I had been used to working long hours in Fruit of the Loom, and gone from a very nice income down to next to nothing. Even that income that was next to nothing wasn't bad. You know, thinking back on it now, because I was living at home. I had no responsibility of bills to pay or anything like that. So even though, yes, I had nappies, I had baby food and all that, there was a lot bought for the child. But even on a weekly basis, there was very little that you had. You weren't going to go out and spoil yourself, put it like that. You weren't going to go out and have fancy meals or things like that. So yeah, I was very much in my parents' care, and I didn't have a say. So the likes of, I would put, you know, my mother was working, my father was working, so I was very much the carer at home as well, making dinners and things and whatever. And if the least little thing, if something wasn't right, I got the dig, you know, all from my mother. Like, my father was a very calm man, and he would kind of, you know, and it would be, I had the patience of a saint. But when he did speak, by God, you listened, you know. And I got to learn, I got cute enough to know that when my mother started, to let her be, instead of rising to her, just let her be, because then when he did go to give out, he just gave out to her, not me. It was her, because I wasn't. No. She was. And yeah, so, and then there was a lot of drinking going on even then. You know, so yeah, I was trying to get back into my old clothes. Nothing fitted me. And I got to the stage just with stress and everything. There was times I ate stuff and maybe thought, right, I've been trying to lose weight, but I've maybe ate a wee bit too much then. And then I realised then, and one day I did get sick because I sickened myself eating. And I realised then, well, that got rid of that. There's maybe a way out. And that went on for quite a while. And yeah, it even went on up until the stage that I was in the UK, because I actually did have a collapse while I was in London. Yeah, I fainted. But I think that when I fainted in London, that was kind of like a wake-up call for me, because I had a goal. I couldn't not be well. I had to be well, because back then when you went to London, yes, there was crowds of us living together in different houses and things, but the men were out getting the good money. The women were out working, chasing after 2 or 3 jobs. I was anyway. Just to be able to afford to come home, pay your way while you were there and afford to come home. Whereas the men were able to go out drinking all weekend and come back home, hire out cars or buy cars over there and come over and party when they went home and then come back to work again. It wasn't like that for the women at all. Certainly wasn't for me anyway. I used to come home and just hope for the best. I was glad to get home like Christmas and things and be okay for a day or two, and then, you know, same old thing then, you know. I used to love getting to Granny's Christmas night up in Slavary. It was something else, you know. You really, really felt like family. I loved it up there, you know.
You mentioned your granny before. You seem to be quite close with you.
I wouldn't say we were that close. But yeah, she was the kind, you know, I had such high respect for her. You never ever heard her say a bad word about anybody. Never. And I never saw her. I saw her cross a couple of times. One time in particular. Now you wouldn't have known, if you hadn't have known any better, you would, you know, if you had been a stranger coming in the door, you wouldn't have known she was cross. But we knew she was cross because it was my uncle Thomas and my father went to, and my father we used to go to mass on Sunday morning, and my father used to leave himself and my mother home, and he would go to Slavary and get his father and take him into the town for lunchtime pint on a Sunday, and then he would take him home. But this Sunday in particular, Thomas landed down and they stayed a wee bit longer. And we went up to Slavary. We collected them and went up to Slavary then, and Granny had the dinner ready and it had been sitting a while. Well, she put the 3 of them to the table without saying a word. The look, just the look. She put the 3 of them to the table, and as quick as they could take a spoonful out of the plate, she had the spoon, the ladle out, and she put it back on again. She had the pot going, she had it back on. Just her look. And they were, and not one of them dare open their mouth to say I have enough, or, you know, not one. I found that fascinating, that, you know, the respect that was there, you know. And I still laugh about it to this day, because I think my father and my uncle went up the road, and I think my uncle was sick up the road. They went away up the road a walk, and he was sick because he couldn't stomach no more. Yeah, so my granny was she was a very holy woman now. She put quite a few priests through their education in her time. So yeah, and Granda, he was a character. He was a character. He used to sit the same spot at the table, and he used to drive the school buses. And years ago, he used to drive. He drove for Owen Donaghy out in Owen Ark. And then on a Friday evening, he used to take the soldiers out to Dunree Fort, the time that was in play years ago. But yeah, they were lovely people now. They definitely were.
Is that where you got your school bus or your bus idea from? Your granddad?
Not necessarily. I don't think so. No. I would have spent quite a while footering about in lorries with my father. You know, I would say that's where my father got it. So yeah, it was just something that was passed through the generations. You know. Yeah, we were a happy bunch. You know. So yeah.
So you had your time in London, and you came back. So, you know, what was happening when you were home? So you're obviously looking after your mother as well, and living with your mother there.
Yeah, well, I moved out quite a few times, and then I met my future ex-husband. He was from Kilmany, and that's where that's where I am now. We were together for 14, 15 years, 16 years, and we had 5 more sons. So we did, yeah. We had 5 sons, they're all grown up now. So yeah, but the marriage didn't work out. You know, I think it was there would have been a whole lot of things that would have come into it, you know. But like that, myself being the way I was, independent, you know, only on myself, and I'll say sometimes that would maybe I should have maybe took down the barriers, or maybe turned around and says, hey, you know, be more supportive. But I didn't. I just carried on. Did the best I could with what I had. You know.
So your first child was a daughter, right?
Yes, yeah. 1 girl and then the 5 boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you were full time looking after them, were you?
No, well, yeah, I was full time during the week. One time I was a taxi driver. Myself and the husband started taxi driving, so we were doing that at the weekend. And then we went into the chip van business, and we were quite successful at that. We had 2 chip vans at one time. Yeah, so we were able to buy property and things like that during that period. And then I knew that the licensing laws were changing, and whereas I was able, with the chip van, I was working Friday, Saturday and Sunday nights, working all day as well. Basically, you had a lot to do that the work people didn't see that you had to do during the day. But it left me that I was at home all week with the kids. Because they were very much into their football and their boxing and things, their different activities. And it was your full-time running with them after school, like between that and dinners. And I don't need to explain that. Any mother or father will tell you, it's full-time alone, So yeah, I had a good income, really good income that I was able to buy. Well, I was able to go for the mortgage for the house I'm in now. We bought our other house, and we also bought land in Letterkenny, because that was the plan at one stage, was to move to Letterkenny. So yeah, I did all right. I had plans. We spoke about moving forward in the future, but myself and the husband were never singing off the same hymn sheet. So I didn't know that, though. I didn't find that out until the shit hit the fan. So yeah, that was that.
14 years is a long time, though.
It is, but we worked. We worked. I was a workaholic.
What were the bands called? Had you a name for the business?
Yeah, Christine's Chippy.
There you go. So good you put your name on it. Yes,
I did. Oh, we had a good run now. We were in Buncrana there on a Saturday and Sunday night, and we used to do the Bailey car park on a Friday night. Another side of that was as well, we were late on the road, and you know, especially at night going home, and if there was any accidents about, we always come on them, you know. And like that, you know, you were between, I could get hung for this, but you were between stopping the chip van, going out and getting the brush to go out and lift mud guards and whatnot off the road and sweep up muck and glass before the guards would come along. You know, there was no, as long as there was no injuries, you know, we just helped either direct traffic, make sure everybody was okay. Because there was a couple of times I did phone the guards and I did phone the ambulance because it was needed. It's as simple as that. You know, I did a bit of work with the Red Cross as well, so I had my certificates because I found that I needed them because I was coming on too many accidents. And when you see, Jesus, there's a tree wiped out there and you can see the wheels of a car in a field, your stomach and your heart just reaches for your throat. You know, you don't know what you're going to come on, and unfortunately we come on way too many fatalities. Yeah, we've come on them all. So I decided that, you know, with licensing laws and things, the way things were, that I needed to maybe go on to training, and wanted to help people. I always wanted to help people, and I knew there was something in me to be able to do that. Just didn't know what it was. So I started looking into maybe joining the ambulance service, the Gardaí, fire brigade, and then it was kind of like just a process of elimination, because at the end of the day I still had a young family, and it worked out that the only option that I had to do what I wanted to do was to join the police service in Northern Ireland, because a part-time position came up. And sure, at that time there was a peace process, wasn't there? Yeah, right. So I thought I was doing the right thing, and away on I went and joined. Well, to say joined, it was a year's process. There was different role plays and there was different things going on and different exams you had to do. But at the end of the day, the phone call came, and I got in, and I thought, Jesus, I did it, you know. And I think that day was a complete turnaround for me, because even though I came up against it after that, with people basically saying, well, who do you think you are? You know, do you not know your place? You name it, I got it. You can't go on and do that. You can't, you know. And it had got to the stage that everything I had gone to do so far in my life, at that stage, I'd been told I can't. And I listened to that because I felt I'd no other choice. Whereas this time, somebody way outside of my circle, people who had met me and spent time with me, and even with what was written down on paper, turned around and said, we're giving her a go. We can see something in her. And I dug my heels in, and I carried on, and I went for it. I went against the grain with everything. But I thought, no, it's about time somebody supported me. And that support didn't come. So I think if somebody turned around and says to me, was at the end of my marriage, the end of my marriage was there a long time before that. I often wondered, when my marriage ever start, you know. And like, that's not just, I'm not blaming him. That's the two of us. That's the two of us. You know, were we ever in the right place? Maybe not, you know. So yeah, and I went on and away I went, and went for my training. Loved the training. Absolutely loved it.
Why?
Oh, I loved it. I don't know, as I said, the tomboy in me, the activities. I actually got to batten other men, like, come on. I big 6 footers in front of me, and they're standing with a padding on the side, and now I'm getting to batten them, you know. It was, and you know, it was good crack. you know, and even within the training and things, different training you were doing, and you're expected to be heard as part of your training, you know, because you're looking for somebody to listen to you and stuff. And the first time I did that, and of course I was the only southerner there at the training, and the trainers kind of went, Jesus, where did you come out of? He said, where did you learn to get that voice out? I said, I've 6 kids. I have a voice, like, you know. So yeah, I really thoroughly enjoyed the training, loved it, and it would be quite competitive as well. So came out as myself and another fella. He was top marksman and I was top markswoman within the group that we were in. We were very competitive then against one another, you know, and yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Loved my job in the north. You know, I got to do numerous things that, like, I was there as a part-time police officer in the community, and but I was a smoker. I was the only one that was a smoker, so many of the time you'd be looking for me and I'd be down the back door, but sure, if they were leaving to go out, I always made sure I was kitted out anyway, and we'd have to run and get into the car or run wherever. And but yeah, with me being there, times there would be other things ongoing in the yard, and they'd see you standing there and they'd say, here, you busy, come on, you with us, we're going to do a search, we're going to do this. You know, I got working with CID, I got working with a whole lot of different departments, really got my eyes opened. And yeah, really, you know, and I did help a few people while I was there. I got into a lot of trouble while I was there as well with my sergeants and things, because some of them didn't like the way I did things because of the way I treated people, because I just think that people should be treated the way you would like them to treat you, you know. Like the first night that we went out on patrol, we were walking down through a housing estate which we had been told that we were going to have to patrol quite a lot, because even though it wasn't a bad estate, it was there was an age group of children that had got to a certain age group and they were out more and started to hang about, but there was still the elderly aspect to the housing estate as well, and there was a fear there, just with elderly people maybe who are then widowed and living at home alone and whatever, and see young ones out standing about and just imagination goes wild with them or whatever. But the first night that we walked down through the estate, there was a crowd of young ones, and of course they called them the hoodies. Hoods were up or whatever, and of course I walked down into the middle of them and I said, yes boys, what's crack? And they kind of looked at me. I just have to say, fucking shiver you on, like. And I looked and I said, have you no beanie hats to put on and under them hoodies? I said, you're not freezing. I said, Jesus, if I had a beanie hat, I would have it on me, and a hoodie. A couple walked away and just kept the head down. A couple of grunted, a couple other ones stood and looked at me. And I didn't get much of a reception, to be honest. And but that's what I said to them, and I said, here boys, must run on. See you again. Now, 3 months later, I walked into that housing estate and there would only be 1 or 2 of us. And it'd be a case of high five, yes, we're seeing what's crack. I earned their respect. If there was a snowball to be thrown, if I was getting pelted, I would throw it back. Or else that if, whoever I'd be along with, I would gang up with the young ones and hit the other officer. It was a bit of crack. Who doesn't enjoy the snow, things like that, to do snow angels, lie down with them. We did have a few incidents in there. We never ever had to arrest or put a child into a car. We were always able to take them to their door. But then that's a lot to say, a good showing on their parents, that we were able to take them to the door. And we didn't have any trouble with them after that. Like a child can be easily spoken to. Like you can sit down on a wall beside them and speak to them, without dictating, Like there was one issue we had was the elderly ringing in because the young ones were jumping on top of wheelie bins. They were pulling the residents' wheelie bins to the gates at the side, and being able to get up on the wheelie bin, to get over the gate, to get into their backyard, to jump on something else to get into somebody else's backyard. But they were playing 40-40 out the front, And these young ones didn't think what houses or gardens they were going through. That wasn't on their mind. They didn't think they were annoying anybody. They were playing. And they were from 5 and 6 to 13 and 14. And we went in anyway, and we got a gang of them, and we caught them at it. And like that, we gathered them all up and called them up. We didn't run after anybody. They came out to us because they knew, well, I don't know if they knew or not, but they came over to us anyway. I just basically explained to them that there was a few houses around here and that there was elderly people living in them. And I asked them to picture it, that if it was their granny or granddad living in that house, and if somebody that they didn't know or just weren't sure of, because it was getting dark, was coming jumping over their wheelie bin and over their fence and running around the back, and they weren't sure, was it the child that jumped the fence, or was it maybe was it somebody else, because it set off their fears. And I said, would you like it? Every one of them, no. What would you do? You wouldn't be happy with the person that was doing it? No, I would not. I would sort them out. One of these boys, I'd sort them out. And I says, I'm sure you would. I said, can you see where I'm coming from now? And can you see where they're coming from? I said, they're not complaining about you playing. They're not. But they are getting scared. They're just not sure. You know? A couple of weeks later, one of the residents called out. We had to send, what did you say to them, Wednesday? I thought, oh, Jesus, what happened now? She says, no, they've come up and asked me, do I want anything from the shop? And you know, so they were starting, the young ones started to realise, because we made it very clear, and the elderly people were not giving out about the kids. They knew they were playing. There was just that uncertainty. And we had no bother. No bother with them kids. They were great kids all together. And it was up on the water side, mainly where I was. But yeah, we've had some exciting nights as well. I've been shot at. There's not much I haven't. I've had a knife taken out in me, and baseball bats, whatever. I've been petrol bombed. Myself and 2 other officers went up one night. We found out that there was quite a few petrol bombs that were for use for the public, just for the main road. So we were told to go up and coax them out and take on board whatever was thrown at us. Because when they were gone, then they couldn't hurt anybody else as long as they put us on fire, So that's what we did. And we stuck at it for a while, and it was pretty well. I think we took over 200 petrol bombs that night, and a couple of 2x2 blocks as well. And we left when we thought, well, it looked to be that they were all out. So we left, and we were on fire at that stage because I could see the rubber around the back door just kind of peeking in. And I said, we are on fire, and I can't open this door. There's too many people here. So we drove off on fire, and we went way up the road a bit, way out arm's reach, to give us a bit of space to be able to get out. I had to get out and extinguish the 2 back doors because I had the fire extinguisher in the back. And then I had to go out and extinguish round the driver and the passenger door before the other 2 officers could get out. And we were out, and we were starting to strip off because we were soaking. We were just soaking in sweat. And we were standing below the tangy, and the crowd of young ones came up around the corner, and they just stood there, and they were just gone. Because I'm only 5'4", 5'5". The other one woman would have been the same height as me, and the other one would have been smaller. And we all had long blonde hair. 3 tiny wee women, and you could just see in their faces, and you could hear somebody saying, "Is that how we've been fucking petrol bombing all night?" We just stood and pissed ourselves laughing. It was what it was. We were sent out to do a job. We did it, and then that was that. We got the fire out. Everybody was safe. Nobody else got hurt, and they got their night of firing petrol bombs at the police. And there were kids. It's mad. Kids, there was, I wouldn't have said there was 2 or 3 adults in it. All kids. But
so you're saying that was a part-time role, really?
That was part-time. But you did when the 999 call came in, you ran. you don't know where you would have ended up. You know, there was other days I went in, there was extra shifts going, especially coming up to Christmas and things, and I would take them. I loved the job. I would take them, and away I would go. So I got doing quite. I did the foot patrols at Christmas and around the city. Quite a few officers wouldn't do it, who were part time, because they lived in and around Derry. Pardon me. They lived in and around Derry, and they were scared of who would see them. Even granted, you know, members of their family didn't even know they were members of the force. You know, now as I say, I loved the job. There came an awful responsibility with it as well, because your life was in danger. And if you thought otherwise, you were a fool. You were a fool. Like, I never came out of. We were well trained. I never ever got into my car without checking the underside of it. Even at the police station, we would check the underside of our cars and our wheels as well before we would get into our cars. You know, it's the way it was. You were trained through driving of how things should be, and you know, quite a few times I was followed home. I had quite a few high-speed chases, because the last place I wanted to go was home. You know, that was my main thing, that I'd be leading them away from my home for where my children were. It got to the stage I did. At the time, the husband had firearms at home for sports, and I did have to let one off one night because of intruders at the home. Didn't second guess it. I didn't think twice about it. I felt under threat, and there was no way anybody was going to come in and harm my kids. You know, they were never got, but we know who they are. And it wasn't. It was a load of shit. Because if anybody was really gonna come and do you any harm, they'd be in and out, job done, away again before you'd even know what hit you. You know, so it's just clowns. But you know, it does, your senses and your awarenesses heighten, and are heightened all the time, and that has kind of never left me. To a certain extent, it hasn't left me. Even though I may seem laid back or whatever, there's always, you know, because even after I left the police force, I went into a life of security. I still hold my security officer license. That was another job I went into, because like that, I went back to the catering for a while, and found it bloody hard work, really hard work, and I didn't enjoy it anymore. Really didn't enjoy it anymore. I loved being out the front part of any establishment, talking to people. You know, I loved that. And like that, I wasn't one for being out in pubs or anything. I wasn't a drinker. So that was my social, wherever I worked, that was my social life, you know. I had gone back to college for a while, but I had to leave in the second year. I went back and did forensic science. I had intended on going on and going full time in the forensic unit in the north, while still being a police officer at the weekend. As I said, a bit of a workaholic. But that's what my passion and my interests were at the time. So yeah, that's all kind of went by the way, because things changed, circumstances changed. The family home here, the marriage broke up, the banks moved in, and they got a court order and took the home. So me and the kids had to get somewhere else to live. Well, initially, when the court order was given, I didn't like it. I was just lost at that stage, because the marriage had broken down. My job had gone. I felt depleted, completely deflated. I wasn't well at the time either. And like that, I hadn't any money. And they'd put the mortgage payments up. And no matter what I said to them on the phone, even trying to pay the original payments, it wasn't good enough. They didn't want to know. And it ended up in court. And I didn't get any representation because I couldn't afford to pay the payments. So how was I going to afford a solicitor to fight it when I still couldn't pay the payments? That, you know, there was no sense of it. There was no making of any sense. My confidence was gone, completely gone. And the judgment was given, and even the judge, when he stood, you know, he's sitting there and looked down at me, he said, "Make the most of your last Christmas at your home." And I thought, because there was a few guards there as well, and it's not that I knew them, but I was kind of over that side, away from, I was just at the back, hiding, just little me, and just, yeah, I'm here. And you could feel everybody, because everybody turned around and looked at you when the judge was saying this. And you just felt so small, and you felt a failure. And you know, I went home and I thought, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And by the time I got home, I had made up my mind that, because the ex-husband was down in the other house, he was okay. He was working away. That I would just send the kids down to him, and I would just disappear. You know, the kids would be better off without me because I'd failed. I don't mean running back to London again. I was done. I had nothing left. Nothing left. And when I came home and I tried to explain to the kids, the youngest at the time just had a way about him of just looking at you and hugging you. And he says, "Mommy, I don't care what way did you put it?" He says, "I don't care about this house, Mommy, I'll just go wherever you're going." Just simple like that, you know. You know, it wasn't that he was saying he didn't care to go and live with his daddy. What he was saying was, it just, "Oh, it's all right. It's just not this big deal. Like, it's all right. I'll just go wherever you're going. I'll go. It's all right." And two of the older fellas that were there, one was at the time still is a real grafter, and he was defiant. And he was at school, like, 15. He was defiant. "We'll sort this, you know, we'll get this sorted now. We'll do something. Don't you be worrying about it, Mum." So at that stage you were going, Jesus Christ, you know, they're kids. What are they supposed to do? But it was the words. And that was, you know, because I never thought I would ever be suicidal. But I was that day. And I had my mind made up. So I came into the house and they all started coming home from school. I was in bits. I was in an absolute state. And they saw that, and that annoyed me. They shouldn't have seen that. Because I've always had to be strong, you see. And I've always had to do whatever needed to be done. And yeah. But that was they saved me that day. Just by being who they are. You know? Don't know if they even realise that, but yeah. And yeah, so we started to make plans. And as we made plans and we started to sell things from the house, and we decided we would move to a different village, different town, because at some stage we're going to have to be maybe without a car. So the youngest he was still in primary school, so he was the only one really who was going to change school, because the other two travelled on the bus to go to the community school. So we rented a house in the next village and left it that if we ended up with no car, we were okay. The kids could walk, they were within walking distance to school. Yeah, and that's what we did. And we had moved, we were settled by the July, even though we didn't have to be out until September. But we were settled, so as the kids were settled to go back to school. And we were in that, but we moved around a bit, and I went back to work in catering. And over that period of time, we were there 5 years, 5, 6 years. over that period of time, it came up. Sorry. Over that period of time, it came up that there was a lot more talk about the possessions of homes, and there was a few meetings being held. So eventually, I did go to a meeting, and I had my paperwork and everything with me. And the man that was up talking that night, everything he said, as far as I was concerned, he was talking about everything that I had in my hand. And I got quite emotional because at this stage, the for sale sign was up in the garden. You know, they hadn't come near the bank hadn't come in and taken over my house at all those years. They didn't bother with the house at all. They let it go into complete disarray. It had been broken into. There was windows smashed, the kitchen was ripped out, the doors were ripped off the hinges, the copper was ripped out of everywhere in the airing cupboard, all through the walls, down through ceilings, you name it, wherever they could get copper, they ripped it out. And the water tank and everything up the stairs. The only one good thing they did bloody do is they turned off the water. So that was one thing was, you know, but they took, you know, the range. Jesus, you talk about a mess of a house. It was just a bare shell. The award-winning gardens were just a forestry, still are. They're tamed down a wee bit, but they you know, they're not what they should be. And yeah, so I went and looked about it. So anyway, I spoke to those people, and within a week, I had been to the High Court of Dublin, and I put on an injunction on the banks, on my property, and I stopped the sale of the house. And after a few months, what I was told I would have to take possession of the house again. The house wasn't livable. There was no heating. There was no plumbing. There was no electricity. No nothing. So eventually, like I was just sitting, you know, when everybody's telling me you need to take possession of this house, but I can't expect my kids to go in and live in that. There's no heating. You can't have a shower. The shower's broke. The bath's ripped out. You know, there's no fireplaces. There's nothing. And then the son who told me all those years ago, we'll sort something, Mum. He was home with his girlfriend that Christmas, and I was in the town in Mcgonagle, and he knew that, and he phoned me and he says, Mum, he says, where you at? And he says, oh, we're out in Dade's here. He says, come on out here, run. I want you to look at something for me. I said, I'll be out in a wee while. No, Jesus, he says, come on out now. I need you out now. So out I went anyway, and there was 2 stoves sitting, and he looked at me, and I could see for the girlfriend there was something strange, and she just kind of looked at me, nodding, and she turned her head in the way around, and he looked at me and goes, see them 2 stoves there? If you had a choice, if you were putting one of them into a house, which one would you go with? I says, oh, definitely that one, the plain one. I said, oh, those fancy squiggly bits, just not, no. I said, no, definitely the plain one. And he just lifted his head and he nodded. And then one of the McDades came walking over, but sign on the top, sold Christine. I went to pieces in the shop. The son had the house all measured up. That was my Christmas present. The stove, all the piping, and the plumber. And that all started to go on, so that gave me a kick in the backside to start to get all this stuff done. I got the power put back on, and there was things needed doing in the house to help the plumber and things. You needed another workman and to do, and I ended up getting the shovel out myself, and I was cementing holes and whatever. And yeah, the 7th of April we moved in. It was a bare shell then. That was 3 years ago. But we were back in. And at that time then, I was still running to the courts, and it has been continuous, and I still never had representation. And I went up to the courts, and as quick as I would win a case, they would appeal it and win it in a different court. And it was just, it was expensive. And this was without paying a solicitor. For me personally, a woman who was working part-time and trying to run a home, it was expensive. You still had your stamp duties and paperwork and everything to pay for. Your travel up and down to Dublin, I would be leaving here at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I would be arriving back at stupid o'clock in the evening, exhausted. Yeah, and it was taking its toll. And then eventually, then it got to the stage that I was in the final court case. Was there was another woman in front of me, and they just made mincemeat out of her. And I was sitting back watching, and I was like that day. I was like that every day. You know, it wasn't as if I didn't go in there lightly. I never went in with anybody with me. Anybody going and shouting the odds or anything. I went in, I respected the courts, I held my own self-respect, and I did what I had to do, and I spoke the truth. And it stood to me. And then that last day, I got really angry. And I went outside and I made a couple of phone calls, and there was one woman in particular said to me, she says, "What are you getting angry for?" She says, "They're just going to you over today." She says, "So forget about it. Just go in. Why don't waste your energy. Just go in, do what you usually do, tell the truth, let them carry on. They're going to throw the book at you. You know they're not going to let you in today. You know by the way they're going on and the way they're treating other people that they're." I says, "But I'm not having them make no fool of me." She says, "Well, don't then. You know what to do." And she says, "You can go to a higher court. We're going to have to go to the European courts." That calmed me. And when I went back in then, and and I was called, and I stood up and I started to be questioned upside down, and I just answered honestly. And the judge tried to make a fool of me. And I looked at him and I says, what he was asking me was, he was trying to get at other people, because they're trying to shut down anybody who tries to help anybody else, within the court system that who aren't paying into the pot as such. And he said to me, "Did you write all this paperwork yourself?" And I looked at him and I says, "Of course I didn't." Whereas the woman before me had said, "Yes, I did." But anyway, I said, "Of course I didn't." I says, "I'm not a solicitor." It was what it was. And he was kind of taken back. He wasn't waiting on that. He was waiting for me to turn around and say, "Yeah, I did." And then he was going to go through it and start to question me. But he was going to put me on the stand, because I thought if he's going to try and put me on that stand, he's not getting away with that, because he's out of order. I'm not telling him he's out of order, because I've already signed and had that stamped and signed on the Bible, saying that what's in that is true. Do you know what I mean? So he'd no need to try and be the big man or have an ego with me. I just wasn't having it that day. But thankfully he saw it the way it was, and we spoke, and then he questioned me. I answered him honestly, and obviously I wouldn't give any names of who helped me, because that's just none of his business. And it went on, and I just told him straight up how things had been, what way things were now, what I'd been through in the past to get there, and that I had come up against it, within and outside the court system with certain people. And he congratulated me on my honesty and said to me, "If I could give you your home with your honesty and decency and that you've shown the court," he says, "I would give it to you." He says, "But I have to go by the law." And the big barrister that was there, and I say the big barrister because he must be about 7 foot later, he was there, and things had changed a year before that, when I showed up at the courts very ill, and I was genuinely very ill, but I still showed up, and they actually really helped me that day, getting the case adjourned that day. between them and the court system itself were really, really good and helpful and caring towards me that day. So that helped me see that man in a different light, because I couldn't stand the sight of him before that. But I started to see him in a different light, that I could see his weaknesses as well. So that took that fear factor away from me. Now, I wasn't using that against him, but it made me realize that he has his weaknesses the same as I do, you know, and it gave me something to play with in my own mind, that, you know, I can be every bit as strong, whereas he's weak, I can be strong. And that's just exactly what happened. And then they gave the judgment that the repossession order was to go ahead. Now, at this stage, this repossession order was 8 years old. I'm not sure now, but I think I was the first, maybe the only person to be able to get permission to appeal an order which was 8 years old. You usually only had 10 days. I took it into court and presented myself and got permission to appeal that order on the grounds that I gave. So yeah, and that's what got me to where I was. So that, yeah, that was kind of another turning point there. But when the order was given, the barrister turned around and says, we need to go back to the original court. He says, we can't execute this order because it's over 6 years old. And I just stood there and I couldn't help it. I just felt the smirk going in my face. And the judge even looked at me and you know, as if to say, there's your guardian angel, you know. And your man says, yeah. He says, you know, and demeanour had completely changed. Yeah, he says, we need to go back to court. It needs to go back to Letterkenny Court to get permission to execute the order. And the judge looked at me and says, what do you think about that? I says, I'll fight it. And I looked over at your bucko and he turned around and he says, we'll talk. I said, that'll do. At that stage, I owed 260,000. There's been talks and we've come to an agreement that I'm home and dry with 60,000. So I've got rid of a 200,000 debt and they'll wipe the slate clear. So that happened just before all this kicked in. So yeah, I'm working on that now. Well, I'm not actually working, I'm not letting it worry. There's nothing I can do about it at the minute. But will I gather 60,000? Of course I will. I will indeed. And I'll be home and dry. And even like I did work with a few financial advisors who dealt with the banks there with all because I did take quite ill there for a while. And they did all that for me. And he even come back and said to me, he says, you know, these are really professional guys. Like one of them turned around and says to me, don't take this the wrong way. He says, but you balls of steel. all I could do was laugh. He says, do you know, you not realise what you did? And, you know, only for, you know, going up and doing what you're doing, you know, they were still going to come after me for that, the rest of that money, even though they were going to sell this house. They were selling this house for 55,000. So they're still going to come after myself and the husband for 205,000. So the other house that he's in, they were going to come after that. You know, because there's very little money owing on that mortgage, so there's equity there. So we were going to put him to the street too. You know, so hopefully now, early next year, it'll be all sorted out, home and dry. And that's another stage of my life out of the way and sorted. And coming out on top. Yeah, so it's been worth it, because this place to me now is actually home. I'm up in the attic space upstairs, wee office over the other side where the lads have all cleared it out for me. And that's due to be painted now because the office space has just got too small. I like my books. Between books and I'd like, you know, I'm not great with technology, so I like my hard copies. I like to refer back to things, and and I like everything sitting nicely around me. So it's not sitting too nicely around me right now at the minute, but yeah, I have everything that I need within an office, and it's just going into a bigger area over there because I think maybe this might be too stuffy, because I did take the COVID-19, and I haven't recovered properly from it yet. So much so that even there on Monday morning, I was struggling to breathe. I don't know if you noticed or anything, when we first came on the call, I was out of breath, and all I did was come up one little flight of steps. And yeah, so for some reason, I'm still struggling. I struggled to breathe, and on Monday I was pretty bad there, and I had cough and I had the body aches and everything back, and phoned down to my doctor, and I'm not one for running to the doctor. So when I do ring, he knows. He does. I have a great doctor down there, Dr. Boyce, and he said to me, "I just go and get checked." And I was happy to go and get checked, even though it was the uncertainty of it. Was I going to get home again? Because that's how bad I was feeling. And then I took it upon myself that, yeah, I'm sick, but I'm not that sick. I couldn't imagine myself in an intensive care unit with a ventilator or anything like that. So I said, "Oh, I'm not taking it back because I'm not staying." And I just got up and walked out. I lifted my purse, my keys, and my phone, and walked out the door. And my partner drove me to the hospital, or not to the hospital, up to the hub. And then there and got checked, and it was quite scary in there because there's no physical touching. They don't even want you facing them. You have to sit with your back to them. And I was coughing, so everything was being done. I was being monitored from behind. So if I was going to cough, and if they were maybe here, I had to put this hand up so that they could step back. And even while I was walking out, they were lined up, social distancing, even though we're all kitted out and geared up, but nowhere near me. I asked to use the bathroom, I was told no. And I was sent straight over to the general hospital, and in the door, and first thing I did was get to the toilet, or else there was going to be a mess. And I went in, and I was seen to straight away. There was no messing about. Yeah, and bloods and ECGs, and X-rays. Had X-rays done, and was told just after 8 o'clock I could go home. They found that my bloods were pretty good. I am on a good vitamin. I'm on HRT as well, which I do believe stands to me. Well, scientifically proven that it does stand to me. But I couldn't understand, and the doctor couldn't understand how I was presenting as so ill with the chest pain and everything. And so I was given a course of antibiotics and a course of steroids, and told to go home and isolate for the sake of everybody around me needs to isolate. It wasn't the fact that I need to isolate because I wasn't at risk of spreading any infection. It was the case of my immune system possibly could be low, and that until I get over this, whatever it is, they called it a secondary infection. And I questioned that because you said my bloods were perfect. Would an infection not show up in the bloods? My heart is strong. My chest was clear. Can't understand it at all. But then, as I said, then when I got home, that I'm just going to have to listen to my body, because I have been putting in the hours, since this lockdown. I've never been as busy, business-wise. It's mad. It's crazy. It's brilliant. Like, this last month now has been crazy, and I have just to come into the office here and put in a 10 or 12-hour day doesn't take a shake out of me. Not that, well, I want to be here. That's how exciting it all is with everything that's happening.
So what is your plans now?
Oh, where do I start? Okay. Yeah, I'm in the process of, we're working on the website. Now next week we will be all over social media. I will be the Irish menopause mommy. for the simple reason of this time last year, I discovered that I was going through the menopause. I'm 48 now. I'm coming 49 now in July, and this is my 10th year. You know, with all the research that I did and realised what was going on, I realised then, yeah, this has been going on for 10 long years, and I've been suffering with it so much. And even last year in February, I was at a stage where I only went to the doctors because I couldn't stick the pain any longer with my breasts, and I would have quite a high pain threshold. Went down to the doctor, down to a male one. I didn't care. That's how much pain I was in. There wasn't a female doctor available, so I took the male one. And even though the male doctors we have are excellent, down I said, so look, this is the problem. Oh, what age are you now, Christine? 48. Oh, it'll be the menopause. I said, the menopause what? Hadn't a clue. You know, as I say, my background, I had no sisters. I had no mother as such to talk to me about things like that. And not a clue. Now, that was quite an inquisitive and a funny kind of day for me, because I was in a strange place again, a very dark place. Whereas the doctor was saying to me menopause, and he was trying to tell me take HRT. HRT to me was something that gave you breast cancer. Where I found that out, I don't know. I'd heard it somewhere. You know, heard other people talking about it. So it must be true, right? So I argued with him, I'm not taking that stuff. And he says, yeah, but it works really well for other women. I said, but I'm not other women. He says, but it will really, really help you. I said, I'm not taking that. I said, I'm not putting them chemicals in my mouth. And he looked at me and he says, are you still smoking, Christine? I just said, you'll not have that to say to me again, boy. You know? So before that, though, I was bad. I was really, really bad. I had left my job, my security job. I was at home here. Even before I left my job, I had gone down to a 2-day week and was able to put on a good show with at work. And I worked with all men. Had a great wee job, great wee handy job. Could have done more hours if I wanted, but I didn't. And I worked with a great gang of fellas. And then on the site that we worked, everybody that was there was fantastic. I could have been very, very happy there. But my body was letting me down. And it wasn't even so much my body, it was my mind was letting me down big time. And it had got, like, you know, over the years, like in security, I've never applied for a security job. I've always been asked, will you come work for me? You know, quite proud of that. You know, I've been to Germany, worked the Oktoberfest on a private site, just outside Menzing. It was tough, but God, was it an experience. It was, and the gang of lads that I worked with from all over the world were amazing. You know, I left here, hadn't a clue who these other lads I was going out to work with. And I ended up sharing a mobile home with a Greek, a Jamaican, and an American. All men, like big bruisers. Absolute gentlemen. Absolute gentlemen. Now, the Greek and the Brazilian, the Greek and the Jamaican now is a chef and has a restaurant in Barcelona. And the Greek is a security guard, personal security guard. And he's like that. And I saw him knocking a guy out one night, just going, that's all he did. Like that. He knocked him clean out. I was just stunned. It was crazy, like how well trained that guy is. But it was just quick, so quick. And I asked him who trained him, you know, because I would love to maybe get some of his training. He says, I'm self-trained. YouTube. Crazy. The determination that's in somebody. So no matter where I go, I always learn something off somebody else, you know. But yeah, Germany was quite an experience now. Would I go back again? More than I would, but give me somewhere else to sleep. It was cold. Really was cold, and we had good accommodation, all the rest of them were intense. But yeah, it was a very good experience, and one I can say was another one off the bucket list, and met friends for life. But yeah, from going from that responsibility to, and like when we were out there, we were armed. We had a hell of a responsibility out there, and we put in the hours. I was the only one in security there, so I was on call 24/7. So was as everybody else. But because I was the only woman, I was always dealing. There's always a woman involved somewhere. And even if there wasn't, I seemed to be the one stuck in the middle of it anyway. And the guys would stand back and let me carry on with it, which was pretty good. The respect I had from them, and of course the respect I had for them, for people who had never worked together before. It's amazing what you can do with a bunch of like-minded, responsible, respectable people, So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that. And the owners of the site, characters, real characters, and all the general workers around the site. Yeah, I would definitely go back and spend some time there. Definitely would. Yeah. So yeah, and then come back here, and I used to work in Dublin. I would work in Dublin in hotels, and I used to work in Letterkenny. I worked in the warehouse bar in Letterkenny, and I loved it. Now, it was really tight going, nights, but the staff through the hotel and the bar staff, great crowd. Now, even the people that come in, then great. You're always going to get the odd idiot, but no, I loved it. I thrived on it. Really did love my job. Now, you could see me wiping up somebody sick, or trying to resuscitate somebody, or kicking glass out of the way and trying to sweep up glass. I could be seen wiping a floor with a mop, or I could be manhandling a big 6-foot man out the door, or I could be coming walking with a man with his arm around me, and I'm thinking I was taking him home, but I've gone as far as the door, and the lads would look at me, and I was telling me he's back next week. It's just, there's nobody bad out there, not really. Everybody can have a bad night or just take one too many. Simple as that. But no, I love my job. And but the end up, I had to give it up because I was losing my mind. I felt I was losing my mind. I was here at home, and if I wasn't sleeping, or if I was in constant pain from my neck down, I was going from one room to the other and then retracing my steps to figure out why I'd left that room to go to the other one. And then when I got back to that other room, I tried to figure out why I was in that room. And it was constantly playing on my mind, and all I could think on was, how much longer am I going to get away with this? I was going out and driving in the car, mechanically and physically driving the car, no problem. But where did I stop the car? If I was had left the house to go somewhere, but I could end up somewhere else. And it was getting really, really scary. And then, comments were starting to be passed on it. You'd make a great advertisement for dementia. That's what I was told one day. And that hit hard. I laughed it off first of all, but wouldn't have thought about it then. Because there's, you go to speak to somebody, in mid-sentence you just blank. And I thought, I just really did think that I couldn't go down to the doctor and say to him, I felt I couldn't go down because I thought, this man's going to put me on all sorts of medication, or he's going to lock me up. And I thought, no, I was heading in a direction where I had so much to give and do so much, and I could visualize different things later on in life where I would be and who I would be enjoying it with, and seeing my kids and my grandchildren growing up. And this was coming to an end fairly sharply. And I thought, I can't. I had visions then of myself sitting in a corner in a chair drubbling. honestly, that's, and you know, and I remember my father saying years ago, if anything ever happened to me and I ended up a vegetable, he said, switch the machine off. And he said that one night because something else had happened to somebody else, and that was the outcome. And that was the comment he passed. And that came back to me, you know. And I thought, no, I can't live. I can't have my kids coming looking at me like that, or having to deal with that, or, you know. So I wasn't in a very, very dark place where I thought, how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to end it? Because I was going to end it. Definitely was. I wasn't going to continue like that. But there was no future there. I couldn't see one outside of the dribbling to the mouth. And then that day I went down to the doctor, and he started on about menopause. So after arguing with him, cursing him out of it for the cigarettes comments, I came home, and of course I went to Dr. Google. And there was a lot of information there. And then the more I looked, the more confused I got. And it was so conflicting, and you know. And then I come on a thing then where it showed me that there was this menopause crowd in the UK, and they were dealing with the menopause and whatever. So I started emailing them, and I got talking to them, and I started to understand more. And well, I thought I did. And then I went over to the UK to them. And at this stage now, I still hadn't taken any medication. And as much as I was still this dementia side of things, I still had it in my head though, but hold on a minute, this dementia thing, I found out that's brain fog, you know, and it's not my fault, you know, this can be sorted. But if I could just get the right vitamin, if I could get the right diet, and it was all this if, run after this, pay for that, pay for that one, you know, and that went on for a couple of months. And over that couple of months, every symptom in the menopause that I didn't have already hit me like a steam train, till it got to the stage that I was at home in a t-shirt, in a cotton shirt and a pair of shorts, and the sweat bucketed off me. I didn't even attempt anymore to dry my hair, because by the time I had started to get to dry up here, down here was soaking again. I was just spewing with hot flushes the whole time. And on the 1st of April last year, I went off the cigarettes. I was hypnotized and went off the cigarettes. And before that, I had gone and lost a few pounds and was feeling pretty good in myself at that stage. Went off the cigarettes because I thought, right, I have a second chance here, and I'm going to get this right. And that's the first thing that needs to go. So I was literally squandered smoking, because I was spending a lot of time at home. I wasn't working, so there was nothing holding me back. I could just reach for a cigarette anytime I wanted. I was squandered smoking, and I thought, they have to go. And that's what I did. That's how I went about that. And I thought, one battle at a time, Christine. So if you put on a bit of weight here, if you want to eat something, just go and bloody eat it. Just one battle at a time. Get rid of these cigarettes. Oh, Jesus, I don't know. I put on a lot of weight very, very quickly. And I expected that, a wee bit of weight, you know, you went up and up and up and up from, like, I was between a size 8 and a 10. And the next thing I look, I'm a size 18. And I wasn't even that size when my kids were all 10-pound babies. Even when I was at full pregnancy, I was never the weight that I am now. You know, so that has been quite difficult for me. Even though when I say I've accepted it, well, it is what it is. There's no point in crying about it. I have to do something about it. So what I did was, while I was online, and I got involved with this UK company, and long story short, I bought a franchise from them. They didn't do what they said on the tin. Took my money, okay. Didn't do what they said on the tin. They still have my money. Quite open to them giving it back to me if they're listening to this. and I'm still open to taking legal action against them. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But yeah, and you know, because what I'm doing now with the menopause, they would more likely turn around and say, you can't do that, you've a contract with us. Good luck there. But anyway, you know, I've got to a stage in my life now that bullshit doesn't come into it. Just don't do bullshit. I can be very abrupt that kind of way. I try to be nice, and I intend going forward being nice. I'm learning. But I just, from somebody who's put up with so much, you can't, you know, no, that doesn't happen anymore. So yeah, I got a way out of that, and I started to listen to more specialised people. And one woman in particular who saved my life was Barbara Taylor. She's known as Menopause Barbie. She has her own YouTube channel. She's a very eccentric lady. She's a retired gynecologist and knows her stuff inside out. And I started to follow her, and I started to watch all her videos, and you know, watch what she was doing, how she did it, and whatever. And I thought, right, she's leading a fairly, you know, a really, really healthy lifestyle. Like she goes into everything. And I thought, because I want to do this the natural way. This has to be done the natural way. I do believe there can be a natural way for everything. So I was watching her, and then one video then, because I thought, now if I can get onto this and I can have everything prepared the way she has it prepared, and I thought, I don't live the fucking life she has. You know, I need to go back to work here. You know, there's so much going on here that, you know. And then there was one then, she was on about the HRT. And I thought, oh, Jesus, right. So I listened to it. And I thought, right, okay. She was given the do's and the don'ts, the pros and the cons. So I listened even more. And then from her, who does everything so naturally, turned around and announced that she does all this to complement her HRT treatment. And that was a game changer for me. So I thought, right, what am I going to do? What am I going to get on here? And I ended up going to, from the advice from somebody else, I went to a specialist in Dublin who, it didn't work out. I'll just say it didn't work out. I spent a lot of money on a product that should have never come near me. It was a bioidentical product, which isn't, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. The doctor themselves, lovely, knew their stuff, would the HRT they're giving out now, they will prescribe other HRT as well. Would I say go to that doctor? Yes, I would. I wouldn't firstly promote that doctor because he's quite expensive, because there is other specialists within Ireland who don't have that expensive. So yeah, doctor wise, know their stuff. They know their stuff, but there's cheaper doctors who know their stuff as well. So I ended up then just going. I found out more myself. Went to my GP and asked for what I went to my GP and told them what I wanted. And at that stage, the GP was glad to give it to me, and I started on the patches. And grand, within 10 days, I realised that I was actually putting the blanket up over. I'm a snuggler. I like the blanket up over my neck, and that's the way I sleep. Whereas up until that, it was just, just don't come near me in the bed, don't have a blanket near me, I can't stand anything near me. And I would have to get up during the night and change the bedclothes, the sheets under me, because they were drenched. And after 10 days of just sticking this little patch on my belly and changing it twice a week, I was able to pull the blanket up over me. And I thought, right. And then I got to the stage saying, I'm not as sore. And then I started to notice other little changes, and it went on from there. But then I started noticing things coming back. So my body started to level out a bit and the patches weren't enough. And then it ended up as well that the patches couldn't be got because of the shortages in Ireland. And I had learned enough at that stage, and I had been over with Dr. Louise Newson in the UK and went to one of her talks and spoke briefly with her. And there's also another specialist in the UK, Diane, is Born to Care. This is a specialised nurse with the British Menopause Society, excellent in what she does, and does it all the time now. And I had an online consultation with her, at very little charge, you know. And then I ended up then going to another doctor in Ireland, and then that didn't work out. And then I went to the head specialist in Ireland, who I believe is the head specialist in Ireland, who is Dr. Deirdre Lundy. And she actually teaches the GPs in Ireland all about women's health, menopause, and through the production years and things like that. So, and like, to go to her, you pay your specialist fees that first trip. You're in with her for an hour, not 10 minutes like your normal doctor. And you pay €150. I think it's 150 or 160 euro. And she will give you your prescription. You're there as a private patient. But like me at that stage, I had a medical card. So I was able to come home, leave it down with my doctor. He would change the prescription onto your script, and you could go down to the chemist and collect your script. So there's a way around these things. You know, there's a lot of doctors, hell of a lot of doctors, who are not trained in the menopause. And the simple reason being was they never were trained in the first place. Now, a lot of doctors do have some training, but they don't have specialist training. And the likes of myself had to keep going until I got to the right doctor who understood what I was going through. And that, you know, every menopausal lady who approaches a doctor needs individualized care. And that is so, so important, because as much as we may all have the same symptoms, we could have underlying other medical conditions that need to be ruled out. You know, it's, you know, like I was severe, and like that, it took years for me to lose my estrogen. It took years for that to happen. So for me to think that I was going to come back, bouncing back after a couple of months, wasn't going to happen. Now, it does happen for quite a few women. You know, like 25% of women will turn around and tell you, I sailed through it. It's over for me. Sorry, love, it's not over. It's over the day you go into the box and go 6 foot under. That's the day your menopause is over. You know, they might, in a lot of symptoms and things they might find going on with them, or they might find even later in life, that they don't recognize now about the menopause, they could actually be having symptoms and not recognizing it to be menopause symptoms. Like anybody with arthritis or osteoporosis, heart failure, any heart conditions at all, that's all can be all tracked back to your menopause. You know, so 75% of women will have symptoms. 25% of that 75 will have severe symptoms like myself and will need specialized care. But even of the women who don't have severe symptoms, they're still going to their doctors and they're still being put on antidepressants. Antidepressants are not the first line of treatment. It's HRT. And things have moved on so much now with HRT compared to what it was years ago. Like you'll find that the breast cancer, it gives you breast cancer. Like I thought, it doesn't. It doesn't give you breast cancer. If you have breast cancer, or if you're going to take breast cancer and you take HRT, it will increase and alleviate your breast cancer coming out. Because what breast cancer is a hormone-fed cancer. So if you're feeding that hormone with estrogen, it's going to present a lot quicker. And that's where people get mixed up and think, oh, I took HRT and it gave me breast cancer. It didn't. That breast cancer was unfortunately going to happen to you anyway. the likes of myself now, an example there on Monday, my bloods are fine, my heart is fine. I've had a DEXA scan, which measured my bone density, and I'm 100%. So because I went into a natural early menopause, I would be classed as 50% more at risk of osteoporosis, of heart failure, of early onset of dementia. So by taking my HRT, I am preventing those illnesses from coming at me. And that is scientifically proven. I was going to say something else to you there, and I can't think what it was. There's a brain fog again. But oh yes, the HRT. Like this week now, I'll be honest and I'll say I'm struggling. Like I'm just looking here, I don't feel too bad now. When I first came on this call earlier on, my face was really flushed and red and swollen, because I'm on an antibiotic and I'm on steroids, and I'm not impressed by having to take them at all. I'm not a tablet taker. I don't like taking tablets. I do believe in lifestyle, and which complements my HRT. So in the likes of, it's just not sitting well with me. And straight away today with the steroids, like I took steroids yesterday evening because that was the time I got the prescription, and I took it because I was struggling, and I didn't sleep a wink last night. So I had a couple hours sleep this morning. And then now I took them there after I had something to eat, and I've completely took a reaction straight away. Thankfully, it seems to have gone down. But yeah, I do struggle taking tablets. But I felt I needed them this time. I just needed them this time. With the reaction I've taken today, I don't know if I'll be taking those steroids tomorrow. As far as my HRT goes, I do not take any tablets. I don't have any side effects. And that was one thing that I learned through doing my homework and research, is the body identical HRT is the way forward. Tablets, your Mcgonagle, it's all synthetic. Any tablet form, it's synthetic. Whereas everything has moved on now that you can get your patches, you can get your gels. Now, and saying that, years ago, that's where my problem started 10 years ago, where I started to hemorrhage. And I had a lot of menstrual cycling issues, which had to be dealt with through surgery. And then the fitting then of the Mcgonagle. But what that actually was my estrogen starting to drop. That could have been sorted out back then with my hormones had it been replaced. But it wasn't recognised as that, because for the simple reason, it was looked at, oh, you've had a heap of kids, your room's taking a bash, and we'll do this to sort you out. You're too young for menopause. You're too young for that. Too young for them problems. I wasn't too young. Menopause is coming and hitting women now even younger in life because of the lifestyle and because of the environment. It's shocking and it's scary. Like you can go into surgery in the morning and have a hysterectomy and come out a menopausal lady in the evening with full-blown symptoms. Not always, but it can happen. And that doesn't matter whether you're 17 or 70. It can happen, So yeah, what I use, I still have the Mcgonagle. I'm on my second one. It works for me. And that's my progesterone side of my treatment. The progesterone does not suit everybody. A lot of women would have side effects with progesterone, but what they've found is now that there's an estrogen, and there would be side effects, and it affects you differently if you take it orally. But if you take it vaginally, you're fine because it's localized. So there's quite a lot of treatments out there, and there's even more coming to the market. There's a new spray out now at the minute that if you spray it on the inside of your arm here. You just rub it in. There's your HRT. No tablet taken. It doesn't go down and interfere with your gut, your liver, because your gut health is so, so important. That's why I'm going down the line that I'm going now. I've learned so much about the menopause, and of course experienced it and still experiencing it. And I've realised that, doctors need a wee bit of assistance, as in coming out and upskilling. And the education is there for them with Dr. Deirdre Lundy. But the women need to realise as well that there is massive help out there.
Mm.
Simple help with your HRT if you know what is going on. Like, people like to do things naturally, so do I. I am doing it naturally. As far as I'm concerned, I have a natural HRT system program going on here, because my gel that I use, and I rub it the inside of my legs, or I rub it on the outside of my arms, and that's derived from yam plant. That's where it comes from. It's a natural product, yam plant. It just goes through a pharmaceutical setting to get it into, I'll just show you. Here's my HRT. What's it there?
Well,
it's a little tube. It's full of gel. And I just rub it in. That's it. It can be as simple as that. And that's called Divi gel. And the other one, the cream, would be your Estrogel. And now there's a new spray out. And like, there's a major factor to do with the menopause. And I know, Pete, maybe you're not going to want to hear this, but I'll just briefly go over it. Is your vaginal health. It is so, so important, and it can be so debilitating. Really debilitating. Because the likes of myself there, who was in a job where you had to wear a uniform, and basically what it is your insides drying out and rotting, decaying.
Sounds lovely.
It's lovely. But we're expected to put up with that, and even within the workplace, because women don't realise what they're doing, what's happening. They don't totally understand that a localized estrogen can completely take all that away and ease it. Okay, and just make a few changes in underwear, things like that. It can be sorted, and it's so important, because if you don't sort it now, it'll leave you with long-term UTIs. Do you know what I mean? So, like, there's no need for any of this suffering. And women are suffering. Like, if that was, you're not going to like this, but I don't care, I'm going to tell you. If a man's penis dried up and started to fall off, it'll be in the Dáil by lunchtime, and they'll be giving out about it, and they'll be funding for it by tea time by the time they're going home. Whereas us women in our health, we're completely overlooked. Now, hopefully things will change. Things are changing, but there's more women need to come forward and saying, I'm going to my doctor, I'm going to look about myself, I don't need to be suffering like this. I've educated myself. I have factual information now, and I'm making an informed decision for myself. Sorry about that. So yeah, that's basically what it's all about. That's why I'm taking the steps of, I've trained as a CBT, cognitive therapist, behavioural therapist, and I am setting up a support page, and we're calling it the Irish Menopause Mummy. But it's not just a support page for women to come and talk. I want to make it a resource as well. We have nutritionists, we have trainers, all female. We have life coaches, we have sleep experts, we have gut health experts, we have psychiatrists, we have everything. We have yoga, we have meditation, we have everything that you need as a lifestyle alongside your to complement your HRT. Now, not every woman's going to want to take HRT. Hopefully we can give them the information that they need to make whatever decision they decide to make to suit themselves. And we're there to support them. It's as simple as that. Nobody will be judged on their decisions or whatever, because I certainly won't be judged on my decision to take HRT. That's my choice and my decision. But outside of that, we are going to do all that. But what we're actually doing as well is, because I have put on so much weight, we want to try and transform the way of thinking as well of your wording on how you say, well, I want to lose weight. But there's no point in me losing it, because anything I've lost before, I've gone looking for it. So when I get this, when this weight starts to go, I ain't going looking for it, because I don't want it back, It's not paying any rent. It's not allowed to stay. Simple as that. And so what we're calling it is body releasing. And I am going to have my own personal trainer, my own gut health expert, and I'm a businesswoman. I'm going to be doing 5 o'clock starts to fit in my day. And I'm sure there'll be other women out there who will be saying, you know, how am I supposed to do all this? How am I supposed to organize my day? How am I going to do all this healthy eating? How am I supposed to organize this? How am I supposed to prep it? How am I still supposed to look after a house? How am I supposed to look after myself? How am I supposed to get a bit of exercise? You know, where am I going to get the time to meditate? Well, if you want to, we can show you how. Whether you follow us or not, or take it on board what you want to do, that's fine. But we'll show you. And we're going to be doing lives. We're also going to be doing pre-recorded videos. But we're going to be showing you the bare necessity, you know, just the bare me. And I'm going to be going through a transformation live on Facebook with the help of all the ladies, all the experts that are there. And we're going to have some fun. We possibly could have some bad days. I'll give fair warning, I don't have a filter. Whatever. And I do struggle, like at the minute I'm struggling coming up the stairs, so I have to give me exercises to do. I don't know what way that's going to end up. I have to say that if they put it off for a week or two. But that's what's going to be happening. And it is a support page, and it's a private support page. There will be the website then, obviously. And basically we're going to have question and answer sessions, open question and answer sessions on the Facebook page. You have to ask to join. So that it's women only, and it's a safe environment for anybody to say whatever they want, ask whatever questions they want, should that be as a post or privately. We also will, on a different side of that, we'll be offering a mentorship program. We'll be also going into the workplace. We have quite a few programs coming together now at the moment for the workplace. And then I will, once this pandemic is over, I will be going out to women's groups and talking to them, or maybe doing Zoom calls and things like that, free, of course. And we will be just getting ourselves out there, getting the right lifestyle, trying to get some kind of routine going and getting it right. And we can show them, what we're going to do is show them how to do their meals on a budget. We're not telling you you need to go any fancy shops or whatever. We're talking Aldi, Lidl, Super Value, your local shops. You know, there's going to be no la-di-da here. It is what it is. But if we tell you that something works, that's because we've tried it and we know it works. And we're experts. Like, if there's anything shows up on that page and I haven't tried it, it'll disappear. Because I don't want, there'll be no businesses coming on the page. I don't want no lotions and potions and things like that. It's not happening. This is a support page for women and women only. We will have the fan page for the Irish Menopause and Mommy, and we will have our social media on Twitter and Instagram and things as well. And we will be having a bit of fun on there. And like that, any men want to private message me on Facebook, they're more than welcome. I quite happily talk to them. And yeah, because it's the menopause, it just doesn't affect the women in the house. It affects the whole household, and it affects every relationship that you have around you, from your partnerships to your marriages to your relationships with your children, your friends, your workplace, everything. So there's a lot of work to be done out there, and we're going out to do it. Quite looking forward to going out to do it. There's quite a few things happening with the Irish Menopause and Mommy as well. What people may or may not realise is that women at the average menopausal age is also the average age as well for suicide in women. It hasn't been proven that menopause has anything to do with it, but anybody that knows anything about menopause knows that, my own story alone, but the main killer in our age group is heart failure. So what we're going to do, what we're working towards is a healthy lifestyle to complement our HRT treatments. And in doing that, we're going to raise money for the Irish Heart Foundation. And what we're going to do is a calendar, a naked calendar. And that is going to be done. We're going to get photographs taken. Now it's going to be very classy. And like, there's not going to be bare all on, don't panic. There's not going to be bare all on, it's going to be discreet and classy. And we're going to do it in places where you wouldn't expect to see a bare lady. And that calendar will come out in time for Christmas, for gifts, and it'll be the 2021. And then in 2021, we'll do another one, but we'll move outside of Ireland. So any lady who wants to, even if they're not completely happy or comfortable in their own skin, but if they want to come out and join us and get the encouragement to do that, they're more than welcome to come and join us, and they can come and contact myself. For every month that's going, we have a few women who have said, oh, I want such a month, and I want it to be done in such a place, because it's personal to them. We have, like myself, it's personal to me. I want May, and I'm going to go into the High Court, and I'm going to sit in the judge's chair naked. It's no disrespect to the court system. It's just a personal thing for me. It's an empowerment thing for me. And if I can get in there, that's what I'm going to do, and I'll not stop till I get in there, you know. So yeah, that's one thing for me. And another woman has said to me that even though she's been in a crowded room, she's felt alone. So she has said, I want to sit in a crowded street. I thought, right, okay. So she's picking where that crowded street is going to be. You know, so it's very all in, you know, informal. The fact is that, you know, one thing I will ask that is everybody respects everybody else's taking part in this calendar. There will be no dates or no places released on exactly where and when we're going to be at any time. And like that, we'll go out, do it, do some goodness, have some fun, raise some money for a good cause, and really help some women come out of themselves. You know, so that's all part of the process, just moving forward. And there's no amount of women who can take part. We're all for group photographs. You don't need to be Irish. If you're living in Ireland at the moment, and if you feel, if you're not living in Ireland, you feel you want to be here for a photograph, you're more than welcome. But we will move outside of Ireland next year and go to different places around the world. There's nothing finalised, nothing set in stone yet. But that is what we're going to do, and we'll raise money for the Irish Heart Foundation again. Like that, I'm in the process now of writing a book with Donna Kennedy. There's a lot going on at the minute. A lot. As I said to you, it's very busy. The lockdown, I haven't had there's not enough hours in the day for what I'm doing, and the more I do and the more I speak to people, the more ideas I get. And I've just had to say, whoa, stop, you know, you need to slow down here, you need to wait, that needs to wait to next year, you know. So yeah, at the moment everything's great. We're getting there. Next week I've already started starting to organize myself for my healthy eating and getting organized and sorted and moving forward. There's a lot going on. We're actually having a song written for us out in the States for the menopause. Something that's nippy. It'll get the point across, but it's a bit of fun as well. And there's quite a lot of things in the process at the moment. I'll not say too much. It'll just be kind of watch this space. We'll do a second phase.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm blown away. There's so much there, and you know, it's wow, so many experiences. That's absolutely amazing. And I think that's what really stands out for me. You know, the common themes there. You know, were it's about making the change. You know, that there is a way around. You know, coming out of yourself. You know, there's so many things there, but yeah, I'm blown away by all the experiences, really. It's what what is this, obviously the Irish menopausal mummy is something you're very, very passionate about now, right? This seems to be something that really does, it is your fire in your belly, it seems.
Yeah, it is.
Hmm.
It is, yeah, because I've come to realize that us women put up with too much. Now that's nobody's fault, only ourselves. But that's I think that's just a natural thing for us moving forward. There's something there. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll get on with this and do that, and that's fine too. But we do not need to suffer in the middle of it. We don't need to suffer. Self-care is so important in everybody. But women aren't giving themselves the self-care. They are always putting somebody else and everyone else first. And that's always been the way. A lot of parents, I'll say parents, because it's not fair to just single out women. But women do. And I'm pinpointing women because of the menopause. And because they do end up suffering. And when they're suffering, so is their family.
Mm.
Big time. And there's no need for it. Absolutely no need. It can be sorted. It can, in some cases, most cases, it can be very, very easily sorted. Like as I heard another woman saying one time, if you were diagnosed tomorrow with diabetes and you were told that insulin would give you a better quality of life and improve your life quality moving forward and protect your health, would you have any qualms about taking that?
Of course not.
No. Menopause is no different. Menopause is no different. What menopause is losing your hormones. What do we need to do? We need to replace them. And it can be done very, very safely now. Very safely. And I think there's a lot of confusion as well where women say, well, the stages of menopause, you have pre-menopause, which would be you're still in reproductive years. Then you have your perimenopause. Now, if you're still having a menstrual cycle, you can still fall pregnant, even though your cycles may be irregular.
Mm.
But that's one of the main first signs that you're losing your estrogen. So you're in perimenopause. But when your menstrual cycles stop, and they're stopped, if you're under 50 and they're stopped, you've had no menstrual cycle for 2 years. That one day after those 2 years is your menopause. One day. You have 1 day of menopause. The next day you're in postmenopause. That's how it works. Now, if you're over 50, you have 1 year free of your menstrual cycle, and then you have that 1 day of menopause, then you move into postmenopause. So it's always either going to be peri or post. And women will say, well, I'm postmenopause now. Why have my symptoms not gone? Because it's only a day in the middle of it. It's only one part of those symptoms that have stopped. That doesn't mean everything else can stop. You still need to carry on. Women who are still having symptoms, that'll be women who are not on HRT, or women who are on HRT and it needs to be tweaked and it's not working for them anymore, or it's a case of they're maybe on the wrong HRT. There is a lot of HRTs out there, and the best kind moving forward is the body identical, and that's your gels and your patches, because they are made from the implant. They just go through a pharmaceutical setting to get to us. They're completely lost my word. They're identical to the hormone you lost.
Sure.
So there's no separate way moving forward. And going the doctor's guidelines, the nice guidelines. That's what they're telling you. That's what they're telling doctors. That is the first line of treatment. HRT. Like as I say to women, what quality of life do you want now, or do you want to struggle for the next 20 years? God, it's been all right. Or are you going to love it?
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you one thing, I have no quality of life. I'm exhausted going to bed at night now was exhausted because I have lived during the day. I've been productive during the day. I've smiled during the day. I didn't sleep the day in. I didn't sit having to try and suffer on pain and worrying or fed up and just disgusted within myself. Because we are our worst judge. We do give ourselves a hard time. There's just no need for it. There's no need for any suffering whatsoever. So basically within the support group as well, what I'll be doing is guiding women along, helping them and showing them how to go to their GP. If their GP isn't aware of any menopause treatment or doesn't want to know, we'll do our best to get them a GP who does, or else that we can get them an online consultation now and even after the pandemic is over, or we'll put them in the right line or the closest specialist to them in their area. And they are few and far between. You will have to travel at this stage, but I intend changing that. And there is other groups out there as well. Not too many of them, but there is other good groups out there, and they're working hard as well to make changes. So yeah, what I will do is forearm you and educate you into how you can get the best out of your 10 minutes with your doctor. You know, and be prepared that you're going to have to go back 2 and 3 times till you maybe get to a certain stage, because women in menopause, if they're over 45, doctors go by symptoms, and if you're under 45, they will give you a blood test. Now that's grand, that is the guidelines and that's the way it is. But what I would say to any woman, you've come to a stage in your life now, you're having issues, you're having problems, and more often than not it's menopause. It can be easily sorted. But if you're going to start running to a doctor looking for menopause treatment and you know, well, Christine said, you know, this is what, you know, helping out or whatever. My advice to anybody, and I think it's only common sense, go and get yourself a full MOT. Go and get bloods done. You may be over 45, but go and get a full blood count done anyway. And get it ruled out. You know, you may have thyroid, you may have underlying diabetes. Get everything ruled out and start yourself off on a fresh slate. You know, because nothing will show up in that for menopause, because your hormones fluctuate. So unless you're in with the doctor every day at 9 o'clock in the morning, exactly on the dot, on the second, and he's taken that blood and it's been tested, you know, that's the time that blood's been taken, you know, you're not going to get a proper reading. You know, it's like a snapshot of a camera. That's all it is. It's not going to give you a proper reading. But the rest will give you a proper reading to get your thyroid checked, get your diabetes checked, get your vitamin B12 checked. Get it all checked. What harm is that? You know, start off with a fresh slate. You're going forward, you know, and you're going to get better. We're going to make sure you get better, but we're going to do it right. And we're going to help you build a relationship with your doctor. Because remember now, your doctor is allocating you 10 minutes. And he's not doing that through choice. They're run off their feet. Run off their feet. So you have to try and work with them here. You know, it's not their fault that they're not 100% trained in menopause the way we would like them to be trained. They're not specialized trained. But we can act as that in between and move you forward. And then we have a mentorship program as well, where we'll guide and assist you for 6 months on a personal basis outside of the group. So yeah, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot we can do to help. And we're not there looking for money or you know, we want to see this going right. That's why all the specialists are all there free of charge. Nobody's charging a penny. Nobody. You know, so
I'm blown away by your passion. I mean, you've won your experiences, but your passion, you know, and the fire in the belly, and that's something that just comes out. You know, obviously this is something. It's like a calling. It's a gift for you. You know.
Not really, Pete. Look. From suicide to that. Bottom line. That's it. And I was a severe case. There. Do you know what I mean?
It's all the knock on. It's the additional value that you're creating and adding to it. You know, so it's, you know, it's making a positive change. It's all that. So it's more than just that. You know. So.
Well, for me, it can be simplified down to that. It can be easily simplified down to that. You know, all the, like, there's between 50 and 70 symptoms that you wouldn't think of. A dry eye. Do you know what I mean? You know, that wee bit of tingling on the back of your arm, that's all menopause. Pains in your ankle, pains down the side of your feet, on the ball of your feet. You know, like, there's days I can't walk. You know, like, I'm 10 months in now on HRT, and I still haven't 100% stabilized. But I do believe that it's my weight and my diet at this moment in time that is holding me back from being 100%. I think I'm around the 65, 70% at the minute, and it's HRT's got me that much. I need to play my part now, take responsibility for the rest of my life and my lifestyle to get where I'm going to go and be the best that I can be and live a good quality of life. Like, at the end of the day, all I need to do is make a few tweaks. I'm up early, I work. I just need to work smart. I need to learn how to work smart. I pay €7 a month to do that, to be guided to do that. I have a coach, and she's fantastic, and she kicks my arse. $7 a month. Like, come on. I pay that. She's free on the page. She's free on the support page. I have a nutritionist. I have a personal trainer. All free to me. It's all free to everybody on the page as well. The only difference is I'm the one sweating in front of you, and maybe doing a bit of effing and blinding as well. But you'll see that somebody who has come from a size 8 to up to where I am now, and you can watch me go back down again. Maybe it'll struggle. Other days maybe I won't be struggling. I'll be posting different recipes I'll be doing, how you can do it quick. If I find there's something that's handy and quick and tasty, we'll be doing that. I have a sleep expert. Like, Joanne's going to be there. Like, I didn't realise what knock-on effect your sleep had. Like, if you have less than 5 hours sleep at night, that has a knock effect on your gut health, which leaves you then only playing your day at 60 or 70% with your cognitive behaviour all day. It completely knocks you off, and that's with just your sleep at night. You know, everything all around the board is so important. And I started meditating as well, and I heard that much about it. I said, right, I'll give it a go. And I had these visions of sitting going, it's not like that at all. You know, there's so much out there and so much help, and it's free. And it does work. It does work. So between meditation, your gut health, a bit of exercise, your sleep, yoga for stretching and keeping the joints healthy, you know, meditation, and then that'll bring your motivation as well. You know, there's simple things. You're doing it all day, every day. You just need to, like me with my work smart, and then my stretching, and I just need to do it in a certain way that it's yoga style to keep me moving to where I need to go. And sure, I eat every day anyway. Doesn't matter how I do it, but I do eat, and so does everybody else. We just need to eat smart. Simple as that. Just need to twerk a few things.
Sure, I mean,
and
that's what it's all about, you know. Well, I mean, there's so much, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what's coming up in the future, you know. So,
well, you'll not be able to follow us on Facebook now, but you'll get us on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah.
We'll be posting away there on Instagram and Twitter as well. The men can see us there, and that's where they can make contact with it, and we'll gladly talk to them if they have any concerns about their relationships, or a sister, a mother, a wife, whatever the case may be. We'll gladly speak to them.
Awesome.
Gladly speak to them. If we can help in any way at all, we will. You know, and I keep saying we, because I have such a fantastic team behind me. You know, a team, and I honestly, hand on heart, and sitting here, and I have every confidence to say experts. Fantastic team of experts, and you know, I feel humbled to have them around me, because I'm getting the best start, but I want to share that with everybody else. Yes, I'll have to put myself out there. I share an old thing on Facebook on my personal page, but I don't do much else other than that. You'll not see photographs of me anywhere, but sure, after, I suppose you might as well get used to it now. You will see photographs, and I'll be showing the before and after photographs of my progress and photographs and measurements and everything as well as time goes on. You know.
So tell me, in closing, what is fire in the belly for you?
passion, a reason to get up in the morning, and a passion to live, and smile while you're doing that living, because it will hold you up, definitely will. And how it'll keep that determination, and you know, you will get bad days, you will get off-putting comments given to you. That's okay. You know, you don't need those opinions. It's fine. You've got that fire in your belly. You know where you're going. You have the confidence in yourself to keep going, because you know it has a lot to do with who and the people you have around you. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I'll have the fire in my belly for.
Well,
It'll only, as I says, I heard it said there not that long ago. Somebody was saying to you, "What do you want in your headstone?" And I thought about it, and I thought, yeah, things are going to change for me, and in a lot of different ways, because I do intend to travel as well. And yeah, I want to die empty. Nothing left to give. I've given it all, you know. And that's it. I mean, I'm no martyr. I mean, give to myself, to give myself a good quality of life, and to live a happy life, content with, in health, and all my family around me in health as well. Yeah, and I'd help as many women as I can, like I've been helped along.
Listen, it's I'm genuinely blown away, you know. So I would say we're gonna put up a page for you. So it's going to be fireinthebelly.net/Christine Mcgonagle. So, you know, by all means, obviously you can reach out to yourself. We're going to put all your links up this video. We're going to, you know, sort of maybe we'll look to do further videos as well to help you and push the message out there. So yeah, thank you very much.
Appreciate that, Pete. It's great to help other people. Thank you.
Thank you.